Kai Putinui patiko vakarai.
When we look at modern Russia, we can see a country that largely positions itself as very anti-Western. Russia does not really want to be friends with America or Europe right now because Russia is essentially self-describedly a country with very strong traditional values and essentially is a different civilization that wants to exist without all of the Western degeneracy. And my country is basically currently kind of a pariah in the world because of their special military operation, and as a result of this, the regular Russian people are just getting poorer and less free. Well, what if I told you guys that that's actually not always been the case, and that a young Vladimir Putin and his political party United Russia actually has a very pro-Western, pro-European and pro-American agenda?
Россия – это часть европейской культуры. И я не представляю себе своей собственной страны в отрыве от Европы и от так называемого, как мы часто говорим, цивилизованного мира.
And they also promised the Russian people a lot of things, such as security, prosperity, financial stability, and even a visa-free regime with the European Union, for example. Hello Blazers, City by Roman, your favorite neighborhood Russian. Hi guys, today welcome to a brand new video, and in today's video guys, we are going to be going back in time and looking at the election program of the party United Russia from about 20 years ago. Russia is technically a multi-party system, however, I say it's kind of a one-party system because only one party actually matters, and that party is United Russia. We'll be taking a look at what the Russian government and Vladimir Putin promised the Russian people 20 years ago. Now I'm assuming that to a lot of my viewers at this point it's not surprising that Vladimir Putin, at the start of his career, actually, for example, wanted to join NATO. Yes, there were actually joint summits between Russia and NATO and talks about Russia possibly joining NATO as well. I have a whole separate video essay about this, by the way, you should check it out. But yes, a lot of the things Vladimir Putin used to say back in the day were actually pretty pro-European and pro-Western. And in today's video, I want to talk about that shift. How Russia turned from promises of friendship with the West to its position today, where Russia is one of the main countries that is...
Palatai, kaip suprantu, tie visi rusų bipčiulpiai ir panašiai, tai sako, kad Amerika kalta dėl to jo, kad rusai labai norėjo taikytis ten maždaug ir su visais santykius palaikyti, bet tie blogieji amerikiečiai, nu, kaip čia, neleido jiems ir visur pagalių prikišo ir maždaug ten, jo, čia toks jų naratyvas bus dėl visko, tik amerikiečiai kalti.
Driving us all towards World War III. Hey guys, Editor Roman here, just wanted to add in a little thoughts. Yes, in this video there's gonna be a lot of Russia promised this, but actually, you know, haha, look at them. They actually suck, whatever. Look, credit where credit's due, right? In the early 2000s, Russia under Putin was actually developing pretty well. However, it's really up to debate whether that was because of, you know, successful and good governance or just because of insane oil prices that made Russia so rich. I mean, when you have such an insane amount of money, it's kind of hard to not develop. I think all of this development happened not because of the Russian governments, but in spite of the Russian governments. There's this funny meme we have in Russia with how, you know, Russia has improved with Putin, how we went from Windows 98 to Windows 10 and from 8 megabytes of RAM to 16 gigabytes of RAM or whatever, you know. Yes, totally, thanks to, you know, the governments and everything that they've done. So, what did the current Russian government promise the Russian people at the very start of its rule? First of all, the truth is that there's actually a bunch of misinformation regarding this. For example, this picture right here was viral on the Russian internet for like the last decades. And here it says in 2004, every citizen of Russia will be paying 2 times less for heating and electricity than they do today. That didn't exactly work out, I guess. In 2005, every single citizen of Russia will be getting his share from the usage of natural resources of Russia. Absolutely amazing, guys. Where's my Gazprom stimulus check? By 2017, Russia will be the leader of worldwide politics and economics. So yeah, a bunch of very bold claims, and this has become basically a classic meme of, look at the lies of United Russia, you know? But the thing is, it turns out that this is actually fake. Yes, first I read claims that it was fake and I thought it was just some Z shit, but I did my own research and I came to the conclusion that this is fake. However, what is not fake is this capture from October 2004, essentially of the election program of the political party United Russia from 2003. And this is essentially their official website from back in the day. Party United Russia. We together need to make Russia united and strong. Vladimir Putin. We really do, guys. Yes, it's been 20 years and still hasn't happened. So yeah, let's check out a couple of interesting claims from this. Russia needs to become a member of the world community, and that means that the minimal quality of life for the entire population of Russia should be, on average, about the same as in countries of the European Union. Today only Moscow is getting closer to the level of European quality of life. we need to make sure that the Moscow and European quality of life would be able to the people who live in all of the regions of our country. Guys, as a person who comes from provincial Russia, I really cannot relate, can't really say that. I feel like this has been really fulfilled. You know, in Chelyabinsk it takes them like 20 years to build a proper embankment. In Moscow, they built like 30 metro stations per year. In St. Petersburg, they have built like one metro station in the last 10 years. You guys kind of see what I'm talking about, right? Moscow is still very much ahead of the entirety of Russia and does not represent Russia. There's a bunch of stuff here about fighting corruption, but one of the most that I enjoy right here is this about foreign policy. So here it says, the historical ties of Russia to its closest neighbors are too strong and have a lot of history behind them. We must not allow them to be destroyed in the face of the political establishments and the outside forces and the interests of certain persons. Russia must be surrounded by a belt of friendship. And that is in the interest of Russia. Well, yeah, there is a bit of a belt of friendship now. I guess you could call it an iron curtain. Because pretty much every European country that borders Russia has restricted entry. And I guess you can't really blame them in a sense. Hasn't really worked out, guys. And most of our neighbors hate us because of our actions.
Tas belt of friendship tipo taip gavosi, kad tos šalis, kur NATO yra, tai vat Iron Curtain tą maždaug uždėjusios blokuoja, tos, kurios ne NATO, tai Rusai taip smarkiai iš friendship apsikabino, kad baigė pasmaugdžinai. Cool friendship, guys.
Ukraine, Georgia, for example. Yeah, I don't really think this one here
Moldova,
works out so well. We need to create an international regime of anti-terrorism. So it says Russia should be one of the main fighters against terrorism in the world, and there are no double standards as far as fighting terror goes. The terrorists in Chechnya, Palestine, or New York are all basically one and the same. They are the enemies of the entirety of humanity, and that must mean that they are the enemies of Russia. It's just really crazy, like, to see just how very post-9/11 this is, first of all, because actually looking back, Russia heavily supported America after 9/11, apparently provided military aid and intelligence as well, and Putin visited America shortly after 9/11. So here we can see that Russia is also standing with Israel, so can't exactly say that they hold that exact same position now. So yeah, they're saying that we need to rely on international law, control of weapons of mass destruction, something that I also kind of feel like they gave up on, I guess, right? And I like this one in particular here. Finally, by 2008, we are planning to manage to establish a visa-free regime between Russia and the countries of the European Union, widening our partnership as part of the Schengen area. You know, it's really fucking sad. It's just so sad. Dmitry Medvedev, the Russian president, by the way, has also talked about this before. He was also super pro-European while he was I was trying to say he was pretending to be pro-European, but I almost said pretending to be president. I mean, fair enough. Kind of a Freudian slip there, right? But it makes me want to cry. I can only imagine how much more fun my life would be if they actually managed to establish this by 2008. Because I'm telling you guys, men are disgusting. They only want one thing: being able to travel in the Schengen zone without needing a visa. But yes, obviously, this is something that is probably never happening. In regards to our foreign policy,
Pačia muzikėlė groja Metal Gear? Kokia čia muzikėlė groja? Panašu kaip Metal Gear.
Our main goals: friendly relationships with all the countries of the CIS, creation of an international anti-terroristic regime, optimization of migration, ease of repatriation, Russia entering the Schengen zone, and the continuation of friendly relationships with the United States. And essentially there's a lot more to go in here, but yes, they essentially promise that the country will become stronger, will have better industry, better everything that didn't fucking happen, essentially. One thing they actually did do is that they changed the length of the conscription service in the army from 2 years to 1 year. And actually outright state here that they actually in favor of completely abolishing conscription in Russia, which never happens, and you know, I wonder why. I just wonder why that happens. So yes, that's rather interesting, right? But that's not the only thing, because Russia and the Russian government united Russia because, you know, it's been the same party in power for the last 20 years. Obviously, like every government, they do put out plans and their prognosis for the development of the country to this or that year. And one very interesting one, for example, is this one right here from 2008, which is actually sort of the program of socio-economical development of Russia and essentially what Russia should be in the year of 2020. So that's also in the past now. But basically, to not bore the shit out of you, we have a good summary here on one of the pro-Kremlin media posted in 2008 right here. You can see proof, truth. And I quite like this headline, by the way. By 2020, the average salary in Russia will be about $3,000.
Nu, average visą laiką gali būti.
$3,000.
Vidurkis.
Yeah, guys, so true, so true. I think my mom probably makes like under $6,000 a year. What is this? This Wednesday, the government has approved an ambitious concept of development of the country until 2020 that was developed by the Ministry of Economical Development. And according to the plan, by 2015 and 2020, Russia will be in the top 5 countries by GDP. Okay, Russia is number 11. You know, not too bad, it's not 100, however, when you compare it with Italy that has way less of a population and way less of a territory and way less of natural resources and everything, when Russia has less with everything that it has going for it, that is rather...
Jo, Romanai, bet kur daugiau gėjų Italijoje ir Rusijoje?
Concerning, in my opinion, you know? But yes, Russia would be top 5 GDP. GDP per capita is gonna go from $13.9 to $30,000. What it is actually right now. 12,000. I mean, that's still not bad, but you know, in 2013 we had it a little bit better and we were going up. Then something changed, you know, something happened and we didn't start doing so good. Russia is actually gaining, but you know, we're not even nearly close to
gaining.
where we could have been. And the average salary in the country would be no less than $2,700. God, that is fucking insane, man. I mean, look, I'm not saying that these figures are realistic. Even if we imagine that Russia was this, like, perfect democratic country that actually doing really well for the last, you know, 15 years as a whole, I think it still would be very highly unrealistic that the average salary would be $2,700. It would be unrealistic for a lot of European countries today, in fact. It's unrealistic for a lot of Americans, I think. And look, I don't want to be too condescending, I get it. Like, there was also the financial crisis and everything going on, which also kind of ruined things, but that is absolutely fucking ridiculous. And it just makes me really sad because the majority of the people that I know in my life, they all make less than, you know, way less than $1,000 a month. When I was growing up, my parents would be making about like $400 a month or something. And then ironically enough, they're kind of in a similar position still to this day. And so are a lot of Russians. You know, in the regions of Russia, 20 or 30,000 rubles is still a pretty normal salary, you know? That's not like something that's even, you know, considered poverty level or whatever. And also the foreign goods such as, you know, tech, whatever, all of this is even more extra expensive in Russia. And now after the start of the special military operation, all of it has gotten even more expensive. You know, phones, laptops, whatever, computer parts. The prices for pretty much everything are going up like crazy. And yes, the average person is basically getting poorer and poorer. And they've been basically getting poorer and poorer every single year since around 2014. Once again, I wonder what happened, guys. I wonder what happens. Maybe if you just decide to be normal and actually like take care of your own country, then your country will prosper and the people will keep making money and keep getting wealthier instead of what is currently happening, where people are forced to, in a lot of areas of Russia, join the army and go fight in Ukraine just because like that's the only way for them to make money. And I'm not saying it's a good moral decision to make, however, the fact that that's possible says a lot about Russia, right? So yeah, I don't really feel like, you know, the Russian government has fulfilled its promises there. And actually, when you go online, it's rather easy to find a bunch of these. For example, around 2013, the same exact Ministry of Economic Development posted their plan of Russia's development until 2030. This was in 2013, by the way. And essentially, according to their prognosis, in 2020, Urals oil, which is, you know, the main oil Russia basically sells, would cost $173 per barrel. Unlucky, what can I say? And according to their prognosis, by 2030, Urals will cost $239. Urals is currently at $63. You know, just shows you, I guess, how great Russia's planning is, because essentially you gotta understand, Russia during the 2000s, early 2000s, especially the first half, Russia was insanely rich because oil was so expensive and Russia had so much of it, and it still has so much of it, and it was just selling everything, and it was truly a time of infinite money.
Iš tikrųjų, čia turbūt vienas didžiausių tokių, kokia kurva nesąmonė. Kiek daug tų šalių visokių, absurdišką kiekį pasauliai galios ten gavo ir panašiai vien dėl to, kad, jie tiesiog oilo turi. Ble. Tiesiog, šitie tai turi tiesiog oilo. Jų geografinė pozicija, oilo ir viskas. Ir tada jie ten gali, nežinau, dangoraižius statyti, tenais milijardus leisti ant visiškų nesąmonių ir turėtų absurdišką kiekį galios visokios. O kai pagalvoji gerai, o, pažinu, sistema ten, kapitalizmas, kad patestuoti. Tu negali, nes realiai tos šalis, kiek šalių savo turtus, o tos gauna dėl visiškai kitų dalykų. Jo, sportą visą supirkti. Ble. Ir tu niekada negali realiai taip palyginti ar pamatuoti, kuri ten sistema geresnė ar panašiai, nes taigi, o žiūrėk, tai šitie kokie turtingi, iš karto tu negali, nes ten, okei, o tai jie, blet. Ir visi čia, kad kalbėjomės, to didžiuojasi, nebesvaiks, sen.
For the Russian governments. And even with all of the corruption, even with all of the embezzlements going on, just the sheer amount of money Russia was making was still so much that the country was still sort of improving rather decently, despite the governments already, I would say, working against the interests of the people. So I'm assuming that the Russian governments would just, hope that this would just be going on forever, that, it all...
Aš norėjau įsijungti čia. Chat, kaip man chatą įjungti? Chat. Aš negaliu chatą tiesiog įjungti, aš norėjau... Tai tas žmogus, kur keleivis numeris 16, kur, nei vienos žinutės, net neapsimeta, kad pas jį nors 5 IQ yra ir norėjau, bet negaliu jungti chato atskirai, poch.
It only makes sense for the oil to only keep going up.
100%
we were making crazy money in the 2000s by selling oil for over $100
kitaip rašo, bet labai panašaus IQ.
In 2020 we're going to be making $200 a pop. In 2030 we're going to be making 300, guys. Come on. There's really no losing for us. We can just do whatever the fuck. It doesn't matter what happens after us, I feel like this just embodies to me the spirits of how the Russian government works overall. It's almost like their main interest is just profits and personal gain, and it's almost like they don't actually care about institutes of democracy in the country, because who cares, we'll make our money and zip. It doesn't really matter what happens, and I feel like, this overall indifference, it's not only on the level of, the regular person, it's there even in the governments, and it's pretty much largely what led us to where we are today. So just very sad, very sad. Like I said before in my video, the Russia I grew up in doesn't exist anymore. When I was growing up as a kid, I was under the impression that Russia would actually end up being an open, friendly country that would, be working together with the West or whatever. And I didn't expect so many traumatic geopolitical events to take a toll on my life, but here we are. And yes, it's just a real shame. When I was growing up, I really felt like Russia would have a different sort of democratic, open future, but that is just not what happens. And it's one of the reasons why I'm very, very excited to wake up every day. Parentheses, I'm not really excited. So that's gonna be...
Okay. Įdomu. Ir kažkur mačiau kažką rekomendaciją YouTube video, kur kas būtų, jeigu Axis būtų laimėję ten antrą pasaulinį, tipo Hitleris iš esmės būtų laimėjęs, ar ten maždaug. Ir ten nežiūrėjau tą video, bet tas minties, kaip čia eksperimentas. Kas iš tikrųjų būtų buvę, jeigu kažkoks sprendimas kažkada būtų nulėmęs, kad vat rusai, o mes žinokit norim būti vat NATO dalis, mes norim būti, žinai, Europos dalis, mes norim kariauti ten su visais ir panašiai, ir tipo, ir vat, ar, kokia Rusija būtų, ar ji būtų transformavus kaip ten bet kokia Europos šalis, kur ten gal buvo labiau radikali kokia, ar, kaip vat veiktų istoriškai, bet būtų įdomu pamatyti vat tą tokį alternatyvios realybės, kaip čia, dokumentiką, žinant, kas vyksta dabar, tipo, kad galėtum palyginti iš tikrųjų, nes kitaip nelabai, įvertintum tą informaciją. Ne. Gerai. Koks vakaras ilgas, kaip širdį man kelia. Nuskink man jis